Welcome to another of Grassroots Health Scientists Answer Your Questions webinars. Thank you so much for attending for the last of our Linus Pauling Institute interviews with presenters from the recent 2013 conference on diet and optimum health. Today, Carol Baggerly, Director of Grassroots Health, will be interviewing Dr. John Finnell, Program Director and Clinical Research Scientist at the AOMA Graduate School of Integrative Medicine. Dr. Finnell completed a Master's of Science in Environmental Engineering at the Royal Institute of Technology in Sweden, a Doctorate of Naturopathic Medicine, and a Master's of Science in Acupuncture and Oriental Medicine from Bastyr University, as well as a Master's of Public Health in Epidemiology from the University of Washington. Recent research by Dr. Finnell and his team has shown a correlation between vitamin D repletion and an increase in a specific anti-aging protein called klotho. We are pleased to now bring you this interview on vitamin D and aging with Dr. John Finnell.
All right, we have with us today at the Linus Pauling Institute's conference on diet and being healthy, Dr. John Finnell, thank you very much. And who's going to be speaking later this afternoon on vitamin D and aging. Welcome.
Thank
and
you.
I would like to hear a little bit of a preview about what it is you're going to be talking about.
Well, I'm going to be talking about vitamin D and aging as it relates to a novel marker of aging called klotho protein that is also involved in vitamin D regulation. And
where did it get that kind of name?
Well,
where does klotho come from?
So it was discovered by a researcher, Makoto Kuro, in 1997. He's a Japanese researcher who's now at UT Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas. The klotho was discovered somewhat accidentally, and when they were creating some gene transfected mice, and one mouse came out with this age-like phenotype, where it was just like the aging process was accelerated. And so what started as an accident ended up being a just amazing discovery, which leads us to today in the work that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. I learned about klotho in 2005 when I was working in the laboratory of Dr. Kevin Rosenblatt, who was also at UT Southwestern. And they had happened, one day when I was there, they had happened to have an interview on klotho, and unfortunately it was the same day that Katrina hit.
Oh my.
And so I don't think it really ever made the news. But it inspired me to learn more about this protein and mechanism that seems like if it's depleted, you age more quickly, and if it's overexpressed, it can extend the lifespan. And it just so happens to be tightly involved in vitamin D regulation. And klotho is made mostly in the kidneys and the corollary plexus of the brain, and it seems to suppress oxidative stress, and is also involved in vitamin D regulation, and specifically if it helps keep your vitamin D, the active form of vitamin D, calcitriol, from being too elevated. And in our study, we looked at people that were deficient in vitamin D, so their serum vitamin D level was low, and the hypothesis was that if we corrected that deficiency, that we would also see an increase in klotho expression, this marker of aging. And indeed we did.
What did you consider low for the patients that you were treating?
So we started our trial with being below 30 nanograms per milliliter, and our laboratory had their reference range as 33, and that was confusing to our patients, so we changed it in the interest of our patients to 33. So that was our, if they had below 33 nanograms per milliliter, then we considered them deficient and enrolled them in the trial. We had 2 sites in the trial. One was in Hawaii and one was in Seattle, and we recruited at both sites. The results that we used for the Clotho part of the study, we only used the the samples from our Seattle site because we were confident that they were collected, and, spun down, and frozen immediately. So our vitamin D supplementation strategy was a 12-week study at 10,000 IU per day for 12 weeks, and that was based on previous studies showing no toxicity at up to 10,000 IU a day, and the majority of the participants became vitamin D sufficient at the end of the trial, and I believe 3 out of, well, total enrollment was 66, 55 people finished the trial, and 3 of those individuals did not achieve sufficient vitamin D status. And there's no way to know exactly what was going on with those 3 if they didn't take the product or they have some sort of genetic polymorphism or malabsorption. Nonetheless, we completed our trial, and now my sub-study on Clotho and vitamin D regulatory access. This will be the first time that we present those results, and it's an honor to do that here at the Linus Pauling Institute.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Tell me more about the, you indicated that it's a marker of aging. What kind of aging, or what are you calling aging? Or educate us a little bit more on what does that mean?
In the mouse model, so what we know more about is the mouse model than in humans. In the mouse model, the mice they survive, but just as not as long as wild type mice, and they develop this age-like phenotype. So there's a Parkinsonian type neurodegeneration, skin atrophy, osteoporosis, atherosclerosis, but primarily like calcification of the vascular walls. The thymus, there's thymic involution, so the immune system deteriorates more quickly. Kidney failure as well is one of the reasons that the mice don't actually survive. And the mice tend to just be a little bit lower weight and not quite as active and energetic. And that's not the entire phenotype. They also have some reproductive issues. So,
at this seminar on diet and optimum health, I really, after listening to a number of the presentations, I have a question. Whether or not the word aging really ought to be changed to micronutrient deficiency.
Sure.
I mean, if we just, everything that you just mentioned as a particular symptom of so-called aging is a symptom of a micronutrient deficiency, is it not?
I agree with you.
Oh, let's talk some more about that.
Well, and so in this mouse model,
yes,
and it is a specific gene that's knocked out that expresses the Clotho protein. And it's a bit of a paradox when you look at a model where something's been knocked out, and in this mouse they have excessively elevated calcitriol, so the active form of vitamin D is really high, and so is phosphorus. So to save the mice, you have to take vitamin D completely out of their diet, and phosphorus or one of the other will do. However, in normal mice, you give them vitamin D, and then that activates the Clotho, or Clotho expression. And so that's a great example of micronutrient deficiency, that there are downstream effects.
Yes.
It's not entirely, in this case, we know a lot about vitamin D. There's still questions to be answered, and this will surely be one of those pathways that we learn more about. But in this case, vitamin D, if the levels are sufficient, it causes another protein that's protective to our bodies, and suppresses oxidative stress and other pathways associated with aging or deterioration of the tissues, and as opposed to more of a regenerative state, which our bodies are able to repair themselves given the right conditions, and micronutrients, vitamins, minerals are surely part of that puzzle.
There was an interesting book that I read not too long ago. I'm sorry I don't remember the name of it, but it was what the gentleman who was writing the book said was that aging, and or really he was focusing on deterioration by aging, not just getting older, was really a result of our bodies not being able to clear itself of the various waste products, and he likened it to dust under the couches or something like that. The mechanism for clearing and keeping our bodies clean throughout just isn't functioning properly, and so we get filled with garbage. That seems to me to be pertinent to this talk about antioxidants and about these other micronutrients and the role that they play. Mm-hmm. Yes?
I entirely believe that that's correct.
Okay.
And while there have been a number of approaches to promote health throughout the ages, what we're faced with today is, we have, I think there's over 80,000 chemicals that are pervasive in the environment, and most individuals will test positive for at least 100 or more. And so, our liver and detoxification pathways are very robust, strong, and they can help us get rid of those toxins. But at some point, the cumulative load, it just overwhelms us, and so that can create.
It especially overwhelms us if the repair mechanisms are not strong themselves.
It overloads us if the repair mechanisms aren't strong, and I think that it taxes on our system as a whole.
Sure.
And so, with the process of oxidative stress is that there's damage, it's repaired, damage repaired. If you exponentially increase the amount of damage that's happening to the body, then there should be an expectation that it would cause kind of a progression of the aging process.
Right.
Is maybe a way to put it.
Right. Dr. Robert Heaney, who's one of our vitamin D experts and who's also spoken at the conference, often uses a chart which he calls the squaring of the mortality curve. And he kind of draws a line starting at birth, which almost gradually goes down until we die. And he says that going down is, the way it goes down there, is a result of all of our repair mechanisms not working quite right. And so his ideal is to just almost like draw a rectangle going straight across, and then we die.
Yeah. That's how I'd like to go.
Yes, definitely.
Is maintaining that quality of life.
Right.
Part of that is making the right choices, and then part of that comes from how we came into the world and what we bring with us. Right. But definitely understanding a little bit more of what the right choices are with diet and lifestyle.
Why don't you tell us what some of those choices are? Let's close with, okay, fine, I'm ready, I'm sold. Tell me what the right choices are.
Well, I think the fundamental choices are eating a healthful diet.
Which is?
Lots of good fruits and vegetables. Making sure that you get fresh air, sunshine, exercise, healthy dose of sunshine, of course. And then, the clean water piece is, I think, also really important, especially we're living in cities, and then even in the agricultural areas, with industrialization, there's just been a decrease in the quality of the water we drink as well. And I think some people don't really think about that, but important as well. And then on top of that is just, relationships, quality of life, finding out what you love to do and doing it. And maybe just being a little bit passionate about life. Right?
Are you ready to take on the vitamin D cause?
Sure.
Join us.
Yeah, absolutely. I
That's
welcome
marvelous. That's marvelous.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this interview time, and I look forward to hearing your presentation to all the rest of the audience, and I feel very privileged to have gotten a snapshot ahead of time.
Thanks so much, Carrie.
Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
And that concludes today's interview. One of the most common questions we receive from our audience is how much vitamin D should I take? We would like to recommend visiting our website at www.grassrootshealth.net. And on our homepage, you will find a chart to help you answer this question based on your weight, your current vitamin D serum level, or your 25-OHD level, and your desired vitamin D level. In looking at this chart, you should be able to calculate how much vitamin D to be taking every day in order to reach your desired vitamin D level. We look forward to having you join us again next Tuesday when we present an extended version of Dr. Michael Hollick's previous webinar, Vitamin D and the Sun, addressing another one of our most frequently asked questions about how to get your vitamin D, from the sun or from supplements. We are actively seeking sponsors for these webinars, so if you're interested in sponsoring a session or contributing in any way, we encourage you to log on to joindaction.org today to join the D Action Project, or email us at webinar@grassrootshealth.org. Thank you again for joining us and for your continued participation. Have a great day.